and I have to just do what I'm told. While I'm the MC, I have to do what I'm told. So I want you all, I think we're going to follow me. We're going to go over towards... Can I get a little help? Where would you like us all? Okay, so folks, see where I'm going? You're going to have to follow me, and we're going to go, we're moving the official part of the stage. We'll be back there shortly, but we're moving the official part of the stage over here. Follow me. I know I'm not the Pied Piper because it's a guitar, but come on over. We'll take our time. That's okay, that's okay. We're school teachers and education workers. Okay, everybody knows about the free ice cream. So now, and you can only get the free ice cream by getting one of the chant sheets. You got to scan the chant sheet QR code. It's going to give you an action, i.e. you're going to go to fundourschools.ca, and at fundourschools.ca, you're going to take an action. We're going to tell Paul Calandra to get his hands off our public schools. Okay, so now I'd like to welcome someone who's been a champion for public education and school boards in the legislature. Leader of the Ontario NDP and MPP for Davenport, Marit Stiles.
Everybody, I'm Marit Stiles. I'm the leader of the official opposition in Ontario, the leader of the NDP and the MPP for Davenport. Most importantly, though, I am a mom. I am a mom of two daughters who are now graduates of public education in the province of Ontario, right on. But I wanted to tell you a little bit about that because the story of how I got to do what I'm doing today starts with being a mom. I was a mom in public schools, and I saw back in the earlier aughts the struggles that kids were having back then even. And I ran to be a school board trustee so I could try to fix our schools. And when I was a school board trustee, I realized as well that so many of the decisions we were being forced to make were being pushed on us by the provincial government of the day. So I thought, you know what? To fix our schools, I gotta run for provincial government, right? So that's what I did. And I'm joined here, by the way, as well, by three amazing MPPs who helped organize today. We got Kristen Wong-Tam, Toronto Centre. We got Chris Glover, Spadina Fort York. We got Jessica Bell, University of Rosedale. Three extraordinary champions for publicly funded education in the province of Ontario. So I got elected along with my colleagues here back then. And ever since then, we have seen under the Conservative government, our public education funding continue to be cut. $1,500 less today funding for every single student in the province of Ontario in our publicly funded education system. $1,500 less. That's a $3.1 billion cut to education. Don't let the Conservative government tell you that they're paying more today than ever before, because they have cut from education, and we, the families, the students, the education workers, we see it and we live with it every single day, right? Now, in this last budget, the provincial government is cutting $1.2 billion from post-secondary education. So here's what I want to share with you today. I have two things I want to share with you today. The first one is this. Budgets are about choices. They are about choices. They are not just numbers on a page, right? They are about what we value in our country, in our province, in our city, in our institutions. What do we value? Do we value luxury spas down on Toronto's waterfront? Do we value fantasy tunnels under the 401? No? Well, do we value our children? Do we value our young people? every single day in our schools. You're darn right we do. Do we value music education? Do we value swimming pools that teach our kids how to swim and be safe? Do we value publicly funded education in the province of Ontario? You're darn right we do. And that is what Ontarians value. We care about our schools, we care about our kids, and it matters. And so the second message I have for you today is this. You have the power in this moment. You have the power in this moment. We're surrounded by folks like Doug Ford, Donald Trump, merchants of chaos, right? Merchants of chaos. Folks who want to prioritize luxury spas and fantasy tunnels over publicly funded education. But we know, you know, that better is possible. And I want to say this to you. We, all of us here, elected people, and the institutions that we work in, right? We're just part of the solution. The real power lies with the people. Yeah? The real power is with the people. You know that better is possible, and you know that it is a choice of government in what they invest in. We are going to stand up every single day for that better, right? We are going to fight because, like that sign says over there, our kids deserve better. So we're going to raise our voices together to fix our schools, to make sure that our little ones have food in their bellies, right? To make sure that they are safe in our schools alongside their education workers, those caring adults who work so hard to support our children. They deserve to be safe as well, right? We are going to work so hard to protect our publicly funded education system. We're not going to let Doug Ford take a bite out of public education. We are going to spread the word, and we are going to keep building. I sense out there that people are feeling a little bit hopeless these days. Do you feel that? People are feeling like that, right? It's harder and harder to get people out. But I want to tell you this. This is the beginning of the end of the movement that has decided to cut our schools. This is the beginning of the end of that. This is the beginning of the building to properly fund public education and to build the schools that we need in the province of Ontario to power our economy, to keep our communities thriving, and to build a better Ontario and Canada. So everybody, let's get out there, let's do it, let's keep building. Education can't wait. Our children can't wait a second longer. We're gonna fight like hell every single day for publicly funded education. Let's go.
Mart Stiles, leader of the Ontario NDP. We're fighting here for a better day. So, thank you very much, Mart. And just remember, we got free ice cream. Did anybody tell you that? Okay, but you gotta go get one of those flyers that the marshals all have. There's a QR code on it. Scan the QR code. It's gonna take you to fundourschools.ca. On there, you're gonna take an action. We're gonna tell Paul Calandra, keep your hands off our schools. Okay, so now let's welcome Katrina Matheson, a parent organizer and a fierce advocate from the Toronto Schools Caregiver Coalition. Welcome.
Thank you, Nigel. Thank you to the organizers for having me here today, and thank you to NDP leader Merit Stiles. First of all, where are the parents and caregivers? Can I hear you, please? Woo! Okay, to all of you, I just want to tell you that I'm really proud of you for being here, because by showing up today, you're telling all of the elected leaders that you know that good things are worth fighting for, and public education is worth fighting for. It's very likely that you came here today because you're fighting for something that's being threatened at your school by cuts. Maybe it's your child's access to a pool, or your vice principal, or the elementary music program. That urge to protect what our children have is powerful, and it is commendable, and that's what brings us out. But now that we're here, we need to look around. Okay, I want you to entertain me for a moment. This is going to be interactive. I want you to turn to the person next to you. Maybe it's someone you know, maybe it's someone you don't know, and I want you to tell them this. I want you to say, I will fight for your child too. I want you to actually do it. I want you to turn to the person next to you and actually tell them this. Right. We shouldn't have to fight alone. That's my point, okay? We shouldn't have to fight alone. We're out here fighting for our individual projects, and it's not just, or our individual things that were threatened, and it's not just about that. It's about all of the kids, and it's about public education writ large. Strong public education anchors a livable society. It's a vehicle for economic development, civil discourse, and social growth. We tend to get caught up in debates that are very ideologically coded, and I urge you, don't fall for this, because those fights distract us from the real problem, which is the underfunding problem. The truth is that we need funding sufficient to meet student needs. That's ground zero, because when parents have confidence that their kids' needs are being met by adequate numbers of well-trained staff, access to high-quality learning materials, and buildings that are safe, that's when those divisive debates become much less urgent. Okay, every education funding affects every Ontarian, whether you consider yourself left, right, or center, and whether or not you have a child in public school. Because if we fail at education funding, we are a failing society. It's easy to point blame at the current government, and rightly, they carry their fair share of blame. But the truth is that education funding has been declining over the last 2 decades across Liberal and Conservative governments. We have to stem this decline and reverse it. I'm actually heartened because the provincial budget released last week finally posted a funding package for education that was above the inflation rate. Okay, that's a win. That's a small win, and your calls and your emails did that, okay? But we have to keep working. They have paused their defunding because of us, and now we have to get them to refund education. We are $6 billion in the hole for education just since 2018. Okay, that's where we have to get back to. Parents, caregivers, unions, elected leaders, and anyone else who showed up today, I look forward to continuing this fight with you and fighting for your child too. Thank you.
Thank you, Katrina. Thank you. When parents lead, change follows. You know, some people bring receipts to hold politicians accountable. We bring signs. We bring chants. We bring each other. We bring our love together right now. So now, I'd like to welcome 2 longtime contributors to Toronto's music and education scene. Jim Cregan, bass player Bare Naked Ladies for 35 years. A product of the IMI program in the Toronto District School Board. He is a product of that. He is one of the parent co-chairs at his child's school. We also want to welcome Mimi Matamoros, a young folk singer-songwriter born and raised in Toronto, the daughter of 2 actors. Mimi grew and was immersed in the Toronto arts scene and is now rediscovering the creativity and community through her music. Welcome. Yeah, thank you both, because music education it's not just teaching notes. It's about hope, it's about collaboration, and it's about joy. And speaking of joy, please welcome Gina Hilton, a Peel educator and OPSU member for over 23 years. Welcome, Gina.
And I've worked at the Peel District School Board for 25 years. And over those years, I've seen a lot of changes. Some positive, but too many that have made doing the job that I set out to do more difficult, supporting students. These days, more and more students are entering the schools with complex needs. Whether it's behavioral, educational, or learning related. Sorry. We're stretched too thin, leaving both students and staff, in an already overworked system. Let's be real. We didn't start out in this profession for the money. We do it for the kids and the students we support. We want to see students thrive, but we're unable to do that in a system that's underfunded and overworked.
Every time. Every child deserves a right to a quality education. But the reality is, that's not what's happening right now in our classrooms. More students are falling through the cracks every day. They succeed, but... Okay. Sorry.
Whose schools?
And I've worked for the Peel District School Board for the last 25 years. And during those years, I've seen a lot of changes. Some positive, but more and more that are making it difficult to do the job that I set out to do, which is support children. More children are coming into schools every day with more complex needs, whether it be behavioral, emotional, or learning related. But the support they need and rely on just isn't there. Staffing levels are being cut and resources are being stretched thin, leaving both students and staff in an already overworked system to struggle. Let's be real, we don't do this work for the paycheck. We do it because we want to believe in the students we support and we want to see them thrive. But when education is underfunded and overwhelmed, we're often left doing the bare minimum. And that's not why any of us got into this work. Every child deserves quality education, but that's not the situation right now or the reality in every classroom. More and more students are falling through the cracks because we can't support their needs. There just isn't enough of us in schools. The truth is, we want to give our all every day, but with constant cuts and staff shortages, we're stretched way too thin. There just aren't enough of us in schools to give students the support they need, especially students with disabilities or exceptionalities, the care and time and attention they truly deserve.
And it's not just our students that are feeling it. These cuts have taken a real toll on staff. We're being asked to do more with less. More students, more responsibility, and more pressure. It's exhausting. And what's even more concerning is a rise in violence that educational assistants are being faced with within the schools. We're often placed in high-stress situations without proper supports to keep us safe. It's not just unfair, it's unsustainable. Our working conditions are our students' learning conditions. And in the end, it's students that will suffer when we're stretched beyond our limits. We need real change. We need to have governments invest in schools because education is a critical infrastructure. It's a foundation for everything. Economic growth, community service, equity, and opportunity. Without immediate funding, we run the risk of long-term harm, not just to our students, but to society as a whole. I truly believe things can get better, but we need action now. The longer we wait, the more students we lose to an education system that just isn't meeting their needs. Our students can't wait. If we want a brighter future, we have to act now. Education workers are ready and willing to stand in solidarity for education in Ontario.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you, Absu. Thank you. Who's
schools? Oh, come on. Archie Nath, a grade 10 student, two-time winner of the Canada's Top Scientist Award. And one of the most inspiring youth that we know. Welcome.
Hello everyone, bonjour. My name's Arushi and I'm a grade 10 student. J'espère que vous allez bien. As a first-generation Canadian, my education journey began in Ontario's public school system. It's where I made my very first friend, participated in my very first musical, learned to swim, and became fluent in both English and French. Thanks to teachers that encouraged my curiosity, school science fairs that welcomed my projects, and after-school programs that gave me the space to explore, I found my passion for science and astronomy. This passion led me to build tools to help detect and deflect asteroids. It took me all the way to the Canada-wide Science Fair, where I won the Top Young Scientist Award 2 years in a row. Our public education system is a success story, one that needs to be protected and invested in. When decisions to make education cuts are made in air-conditioned chambers at Queen's Park, the consequences are felt by my generation. The one trying to study in hot classrooms with leaking roofs and broken furniture. When schools and teachers are under-resourced, my STEM classes get cut. My field trips are cancelled. My after-school clubs disappear. And we lose safe community spaces and swimming pools where teens gather. And if that wasn't enough, even our beloved Ontario Science Centre and Ontario Place have been destroyed. It's becoming harder for me and my friends to become who we want to be. Scientists, engineers, artists, teachers, entrepreneurs, and even good politicians. It's because when we starve our education system, we weaken our homegrown talent pipeline. No wonder Ontario is spending billions subsidizing foreign companies to bring their talent here, effectively funding education systems elsewhere while starving our own. Ask any public school kid, and they can do the math and tell you. Spending billions to save millions is a bad deal and a failure of economic vision. I can't vote yet, but I have a voice, and I'm using that voice today, not just for myself, but for every student, to say this message out loud. L'éducation publique en Ontario est à notre de protéger, pas à votre de détruire. Ontario public education is ours to protect, not yours to destroy. Thank you.
Grade 10, public schools. Whose schools? The Toronto education workers here in Toronto. Welcome to the stage, Mr. John Weatherup.
My career started 40 years ago at the Toronto District School Board. Some of you won't remember, but right around the corner here is 155 College, which used to be the headquarters of the Toronto Board of Education. And the programs around international languages, LGBTQ, Tim McGaskill and the crew that ran that and the trustees, and Tony Salipo went on to be the Minister of Education, put those international language programs at the forefront. Fiona Nelson once told me every seniors program in Toronto should be free for seniors. They paid the taxes, they paid the price, and now they're cutting those programs. So my mother used to have a quote she used to tell me. The saying, liars never figure and figures never lie, is a play on words highlighting how data can be manipulated to support a desired outcome, even if the underlying figures themselves are accurate. It says numbers are factual, people are liars, and they can use those numbers to draw misleading or false conclusions. You're going to get sucked into this budget discussion where they're going to talk about numbers and billions and who spent what billions. All you have to do is look in the schools, take a visit to your school, see what's happening in special education, see what's happening with early childhood education, see what's happening with our class sizes in our schools. Don't get sucked into this budget argument about the billions, how much on administration, who's spending what. Look for yourself, because that's what's going to be the telltale sign in this fight. We are not going to be able to have enough press to cover the lies. They call it core funding. I don't know if you've seen the new Toronto District School Board logo from a number of years ago. It looks like a half-eaten apple. It looks like the apple has half. My mother used to call it rotten to the core. Those school programs that used to be valuable to us have now been abandoned. Whatever programs, African heritage language, adult learning, international languages, it is a problem. So just so, because I represent 4 school boards now across the province and across Toronto, and we also represent in Bloorview School Authority, another wonderful place where some of our children with the most needs and the most vulnerable are already there. We deliver services people can't even imagine to understand the medical conditions that our children are and the conditions they're making them live in. If you're a special education parent, you've been abandoned a number of years ago with the resources that you need for your children in the schools. The Beverly Street School is just down the street. We have children who have to go to sick kids every day, and they have to have those schools in their communities as they try to close congregated sites by telling us, don't you believe in integration? Of course we believe in integration into our schools, but we need resources for integration, not abandonment of those kids in our schools. So there's lots of other speakers to come forward. Just like I said, a little history. We were on strike in 1991. We were on strike in 2001. I was here in 1997 with the teachers' protest for 2 weeks on strike. This fight continues on. The right never goes to sleep, and we always have to be there to protect our adult learners, our seniors, and our most vulnerable students. Thank you very much, and have a great day.
So now I'd like to welcome to the stage Raha Janifar, Angie Hiltz, and Jenny Tai, 3 musicians working as artists, raising young children in Toronto. Between them, they've performed on countless stages, toured extensively, released albums, and taught music to generations of children across the city. Welcome Raha, Angie, and Jenny.
Immigrated here from Iran, and amongst the very few items that my parents brought with them on the planes were 3 small child-sized violins, because that's how important it was for them to have their kids grow up with the arts, and they knew that they wouldn't be able to afford those once they got to Canada. I was so lucky to be enrolled in a publicly funded art school upon arrival to this country. As an 8-year-old in grade 4, with English as my second language, cultural barriers, and a very low self-esteem, that school and those teachers at that school gave me the opportunity to find myself, to learn how to use my voice, to have a life full of expression. And because I am an artist, I have since connected with countless people. I have become a member of a strong community, and I have made lifelong friends with whom I have now created a village, and together we are raising our children. At a time when there is so much divisiveness, when people are feeling so isolated, the arts are going to be the thing. It's our ticket out of this mess. And through the arts, we are going to learn not only how to tell our stories, but more importantly, how to listen and hear the stories of others and find a connection with one another and re-find our humanity. Doug Ford, you will not deprive my children of the opportunities that my parents brought me to this country seeking. No cuts for arts in schools.
I just also wanted to say something about the cuts to the special education programs. My friend Fiona Copley is a teacher in the TDSB, and she gave me these words, that our children with special needs are canaries in the coal mine,
and their needs affect the entire health of the school, not just affecting that student or that family. It's affecting the entire class and the entire ecosystem of the school, and it all depends on the support that these kids have. So we need to stop talking about more technology, swimming pools, and all these other things. We need to have bodies in the school helping each children get what they need. So screw you, Doug Ford! All right.
Thank you.
Education is under attack in Ontario, and the reality is that this government seems perfectly fine to sit back and let it burn down. For students with complex needs, they are increasingly being put on modified schedules, being told that schools can only support them for a few hours a day. This is a human rights issue. More than that, they're often being excluded completely, and the government just continues to ignore that fact. Almost daily, we hear stories from families that their children are escaping school property and being put in very dangerous situations. While these dramatic stories of exclusions and other safety concerns frequently make the news, what we don't hear about and what is not being discussed is the fact that many students with special education needs are just simply not being able to access curriculum due to the lack of supports. We need to make this point abundantly clear. When students with special education needs are not being properly supported in classrooms, this is not just a problem for those students. Sorry, I'm blown away here. This is a problem for every other student in that classroom as well as the educators. And we need to start taking that seriously. Classroom evacuations, disruptions, and educators desperately trying to balance the needs of every student in that classroom has become out of control. I'd like to address educators. We want you to know that we see you. We see you desperately being forced to do more and more with less and less. We see you facing violence, disrespect, and extreme stress daily. But yet you keep showing up for our kids, and it's so appreciated. We've said it before, and we're going to keep saying it. Your working conditions are our kids' learning conditions, and everybody needs to be taking that seriously. And we need to continue standing together to tell all of our stories. You have an important perspective just as much as we do. And I think that those two perspectives together should hopefully at some point sink in with this government, you would hope. I'd like to finish off today by talking about Landon Ferris. For those of you unfamiliar with Landon, he was an incredible 15-year-old from Trenton, Ontario, who died last year at school after being left alone in a classroom by himself for hours. Landon was a beautiful soul, full of light and joy. He also had a condition called Dravet syndrome, a disorder characterized by prolonged seizures, which meant he should have never been left alone. This tragedy should never have happened. And you would think that Landon's story would have been a wake-up call for this government. A reason to ensure that not only proper supports are in place for our most vulnerable students, but that important policies and procedures are consistently mandated. But no, as usual, this government has continued to show us that people with disabilities are not a priority for them. Shame! Shame! It is shameful. As we forge ahead in what will most undoubtedly be further education cuts that almost always hit special education the hardest, I would like everyone to remember Landon and demand better. Thank you so much, and keep up the fight, everyone.
Thank you, Kate. Kate, you remind us that funding cuts hurt the most valuable first. Thank you so much. Now someone I work very closely with and I admire deeply. How
Helen Victoris is Vice President of the Elementary Teachers of Toronto. Welcome, Helen. It's the President. Oh yeah, I'm the Vice President. You're the President. This is really embarrassing.
Freudian slip. I'll take the mic now, Nigel. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. It is so good to see you, and you are definitely the stalwarts. I know all of you have been here for about like a last hour and a half, and I know that we are coming to the end of this amazing rally together, but it is the first among many. I want to start off, as Nigel said, I'm Helen Victoris, President, sometimes Vice President, of the Elementary Teachers of Toronto. And we represent the almost 11,000 teachers that work in elementary schools across the Toronto District School Board. The majority of our members are also parents and grandparents, so the majority of our members know from all sides of the equation what it's like to be in a TDSB school right now, either from a teacher perspective or a parent perspective. And every time we have a meeting with our members, we start off with one question, which is, if you had ultimate power, if you were suddenly granted all power and could make the changes that you want to see in your school that would make things so much better immediately for you and your students, what would you do? And what they say, I'm going to read you their list. That every school would have a full-time guidance counselor, nutritious meals, a dedicated kindergarten yard and more green space around their school, music programs in every building, up-to-date technology for every student, an ECE in every kindergarten classroom and an EA for every classroom, up-to-date curriculum resources, more special education supports, smaller class sizes, ESL programs, paper. They actually put on their list that they need paper and school supplies. A teacher librarian full-time for every school. Full-time social workers, speech language, more special education resources, repairing the falling tiles and mold issues, good, relevant, up-to-date professional development, consistent caretaking, soap in their bathrooms, more special education support. You can start to see a theme. And the safety concerns being addressed. Is there anybody that's here right now that thinks that in a province as rich as Ontario, in a country as rich as Canada, you should have teachers that are actually saying these are the things they want as opposed to these are the things they already have? This is disgusting. We are one of the richest provinces in one of the richest countries in the world, and we have teachers and education sector workers and parents saying they need more paper. They need more special education resources. It is shameful. The funding gap right now for the TDSB is $127 million, compared to what TDSB received in the 2018-19 budget if funding had kept pace with enrollment and inflation. This government is putting students, teachers, education sector workers, and every parent in the province last every single day. They are attempting to drive our public education system that we spent years, decades building up into the ground. What are they actually spending money on? I'll tell you, because this is a class war situation. They spent just in the last year $612 million to get booze into stores ahead of a provincial election. The TDSB's deficit is $58 million. They spent $612 million on booze in stores. They spent $100 million in the last year on self-aggrandizing advertisements ahead of their provincial election, 3 times what they spent a year ago. They spent $200 million on a snap election that changed nothing in this province that nobody wanted. That is almost $1 billion, and we're here today on a $58 million deficit. People have said time and again that they have choices, and they are making choices every day to put our students, our teachers, our education sector workers last. We will always put them first. We are standing here today strong, unions, trustees, parents, community members, to say, we will not let you destroy the public education system that we've invested in and built up over decades. We will always wrap our arms around our public education system. We will join together strong and fight for the schools that our students deserve. We're saying fund our schools now.
Helen Victorous, President of the Elementary Teachers of Toronto. Thank you, Helen. Woo! That's right, the bell's out. Now I'd like to please welcome Jessica Roberts, a parent advocate for inclusivity and equity in schools.
Everybody that has stayed around today to listen to everybody here that has a voice. This is my daughter Ruby, and I'm here today to speak for her. I won't be able to do this without crying. I'm here today not only as a parent, but as an advocate for children with exceptionalities. Children who are too often forgotten when budgets get cut. The Conservative government's cuts to education are already having devastating effects. At my daughter's school, Beverly School, a specialized TDSB school for students with complex needs, we're losing a full-time teaching position next year. Let me be clear, this is not just a staffing issue. This means fewer children will be invited to attend. It means larger class sizes. And in a school where many students are non-mobile, relying on wheelchairs, walkers, and beds, this isn't just inconvenient, it's unsafe. Before Beverly, my daughter was in a classroom that claimed to be inclusive, but her curriculum wasn't adapted. Her communication needs were ignored. Her potential went unseen. It was exclusion dressed as inclusion, and it was joyless. When she arrived at Beverly, everything changed. She was met by educators who truly understand how children like her learn. Through adapted materials, communication devices like AAC, and even sign language. For the first time, she felt seen. She felt heard. And most importantly, she found joy in learning. She comes home every day excited. She wants to go to school. She's thriving, and so is our whole family. Her confidence has grown. Her world has opened up. Her quality of life, both in and outside the classroom, has been transformed. That change, it's priceless, but it's also incredibly fragile. Losing a teacher doesn't just mean fewer staff. It means dismantling the kind of classroom that makes that joy, that growth possible. Teachers will be stretched thinner, students with high needs will get less support. And the progress my daughter and so many others have made, that progress is at risk. Congregated schools like Beverly are not luxuries. They are lifelines. They are communities where every child is given the chance to thrive in a space built for them and not around them. We should be expanding schools like Beverly. Instead, we're watching them shrink under cuts from a government that claims to care about kids while failing the ones who every child deserves education that recognizes their humanity, nurtures their potential, and brings them joy. My daughter might be nonverbal, but this mama is not, and I will keep my voice until every child gets the education they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you for bringing parents' truth to this fight. And now, from CBC Top 20 and the heart of our public schools, please welcome housewife Bridget Fry. Now let's welcome Angelica Bell. Angelica is a passionate leader championing equity, financial literacy, and the educational advocacy for underserved communities. Currently serving as the twice elected student trustee for the Toronto District School Board, she advocates for over 235,000 students. Welcome, Angelique.
Could cuts be coming at Canada's largest school board?
Because I don't really need a script to be talking about education and the funding of our students and the children that are around us and the children that are running around with so much joy and passion and just living their life. The most important thing to mention and talk about is the concept of what a lot of our students are going to be going through in the next couple of months when they go back into schools next year. Imagine you enter a school environment and you have fewer teachers to the amount of students that are coming into your education system. You enter a school environment and some of the programs that you did last year and the years previously that were so important to your education are suddenly disappearing. Those students are able to navigate those environments and it greatly harms their ability to grow as student leaders and student voices of our future school boards. The future engineers are in our schools, the future doctors, the future lawyers. We're all in our schools building up within our public education system. The product of public education are leaders, not followers. As students, we need your help. As parents, you send your students to public education hoping they come out as better people. You're hoping that they're coming out and they're being able to be supported as what they want to do in the near future. Some people that sit in these buildings across the street from us or behind us think that education is expensive. The investment in your students and your future is expensive. But what's expensive is students not being educated to the greatest degree that our province that's filled with wealth and experience, can be able to invest in the students around us. What I ask the province to understand is that education and investment in education is not expensive, but it's vital. It's important. And that particular type of change, that particular mindset the province needs to build upon and have, is what will help us be able to fight against problems that come in the near future, against our country and against our province. So instead of funding booze, trying to fight against a terror war that's happening within our country, we need to build up what we currently have, and that's our youth, that's our students, and that's the future of our country. Thank you.
Angelica Bell, public school. This is a product of our public schools. Exactly why we need our public schools. Now please welcome Michelle Teixeira, President of the OSSTF Toronto Teachers. Welcome.
Thank you everybody for sticking around. I know that the crowd has thinned out, but you know what hasn't thinned out? Our commitment to publicly funded education. So thank you. We're in the home stretch, I promise you. All right. So gathering today is so important because we need to send a loud and strong message to the Conservative government that we will no longer accept the chronic underfunding of education in this province. Unfortunately, this is a battle that we have been facing since the Mike Harris years in the late 90s. I was a high school student during that time. In 1997, I walked in solidarity with my teachers who walked out for 2 weeks during the Bill 160 protest. I knew then, as I know now, that my teachers' working conditions were my learning conditions. Education workers across the province put themselves on the line by walking out in protest, not for their own self-interest, but because they knew that the future of publicly funded education depended on it. I saw my teachers fighting for me, and today I continue that fight here with you. It is almost 30 years later and we find ourselves here again. Enough is enough. It's time to make it stop. This is one of the most consequential moments in the history of education in this province. The Ford government is content to play political games with our schools and with our students. They are spending billions of dollars on building highways we don't need and luxury spas rather than on our schools. They have underfunded education by over $6 billion since they took office. There is a $17 billion school repair backlog. Schools are literally crumbling around our students. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to live in an Ontario that prioritizes roads and spas over our children. Minister Calandra has the gall to point his finger and blame trustees rather than pointing it where it belongs, squarely at himself. He has the gall to waste money on investigations into school boards that are no more than a ruse designed to distract from the fact that they are willfully and intentionally underfunding education in this province. Friends, this is just the tip of the iceberg. What the Conservatives are doing now is laying the groundwork for privatization and the erosion of local democracy, and we cannot let them get away with it. Now is the time to roll up our sleeves and do that work that needs to be done. Are you ready to do that work? We are stronger when we do that work in solidarity. Together we can and we will create the change we want to see in Ontario. Thank you.
We have Toronto teachers. I think we all should take some swimming lessons in Calandra's backyard, maybe. We'll bring all the children there. Okay, so now from Mississauga, a student leader and trustee making real change. Please welcome Raheem White.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Raheem White. I'm a grade 11 student in Mississauga and a student trustee for the Dufferin-Peel Catholic District School Board. Now let me start with this. I'm originally from Jamaica, spent the majority of my schooling there. And when I moved to Canada, I credit my finding my footing to the teachers and education workers who saw something in me, they nurtured me, and they taught me what it meant to lead with care. And it is because of them, it's because of you why I'm here today. As a student trustee, I have the honor of representing the 71,000 students of Dufferin-Peel with my peers, and it's disheartening to see what's happening. We're on our, fourth education minister in a year? And let me let you in on a secret. I'm in Toronto this weekend for an Ontario Student Trustees Association conference just down the street. This is my third in a year, and the minister has been invited every single time, and he fails, and she, at the time, failed to show up. If you take note, the only classrooms they're interested in visiting is kindergarten. They're afraid of the high schoolers. In my role, my peers have come to me with a plethora of concerns. Student equity clubs have initiatives that they want to have. The bodies are there, the staff are willing to support, but there is no money. Some of our books, if there are books, have been through it. Our bathrooms are in deplorable conditions, and our boards can't fix it. Support staff are spread thin, to the point where students have to book an appointment to see them and wait up to a week. What happens when that student is in crisis and needs help now? There are supportive adults in our building, and they are there and ready to support each and every student. They want to serve, but they don't feel supported. To the Premier, you've already spent the people's credit card, more than any other government before. His words, not mine. But when it comes to education, I'd encourage him to keep spending. Do it with his eyes shut. Because when it comes to the kids and the people who are there to support them, they're worth every damn penny. Thank you.
Thank you, Raheem. Again, our Ontario Public Schools, another product. That's why we need public schools funded properly. Calandra, get your hands up, public education. I have the pleasure of introducing our final act of the day. Ken Wheatley has traveled the globe. He has played with Raffi. I don't know if some of you know Raffi. Singer-songwriter. 40 years of education within schools of music. We are so glad to have him here. Don't forget to get your ice cream. I don't know if you've got the ice cream. There's a special code that you got to give. Education is a right, okay? So now all you have to do to get your ice cream is to say education is a right at the ice cream truck on Grosvenor. Are we ready, Ken? Away we go.
Thank you so much. Thanks everybody for hanging in there. You know, hanging in there is really what it's about. I was at political events here in Queen's Park in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the aughts, the teens, and now the 2020s. And we're in it for the long haul. You've heard lots of people talk about the importance of education. I don't need to tell you about that. What we do need to know is to come together to prioritize the values that we espouse as human beings, the values of education, of the environment, of caring about each other. That's what government is. That's where Marat started this whole thing talking about. Government is just a way for us to decide collectively what our priorities are. So one of my priorities is to get people singing together, clapping your hands like this. Well, this is...
Dear trustees, call your MPP, call Paul Calandra, get away from our schools. We love you. Have a great day. Solidarity forever. One love.
Could cuts be coming?